Hey guys, it's Elliott Splash here with a video where I wanted to talk about F1 2016 beta, where I was one of the lucky few that got to try out F1 2016 before release on the PC. Now I think there was 300 beta testers all in all, and there was like 100 for each platform, so you had 100 for PC, 100 for PS4 and 100 for Xbox One. Now in this video I just wanted to talk about my experience with the beta and what I actually thought about it and the impressions that I can give to you about it. Now there was a lot of people that was going, why didn't they pick me and stuff like that, and purely because it was a beta process. We didn't get the full game. In the first two betas we got time trial, and in the last beta we got quick race. It was mainly just to test out the handling, how the assists work and how a wheel versus a pad works, and also, you know, general handling physics and stuff like that. And if you're wondering, I am not using a script, this is all just coming off the top of my head, so if I've missed something out and you would like that answering, and if I can, I will tell you in the comments down below. Obviously I didn't get to test the whole game, so there's some questions that I will not be able to answer, but I'll try my best to answer any questions that you have about the beta. So kicking off with beta 1, we had 3 tracks in time trial mode to use. We had Australia, we had Spain and we had Austria. We had to test out the handling of the cars, how we felt the force feedback system was, and I can say the handling was a big improvement on F1 2015. It took me a good few laps to get used to the F1 2016 handling model. You can see, like, if you're going through a high-speed corner, you can feel the little bit of understeer creeping in if you overturn the wheel. And that was quite realistic. Hitting a curb also with the Pro Surfaces modes, if you're coming through the final corner of Australia, you use a little bit of extra curb to get a nice wide exit, you are going to compromise your run to the line, because you can't put all your throttle down, because otherwise the car just snaps on you and goes into the barrier. Now that is quite realistic, because, you know, it's not tarmac, it's not got rubber on it, and it's bumpy, so you can't put all your 850 horsepower down on this curb, because this car is extremely light and the rear end will just come across on you. And I found that really good and really challenging as well, especially in the wet. Wet driving as well is now a joy to drive in. In the past titles I've gone, no, I don't want to do wet racing, because wet racing usually means the AI are going to beat you down to a pulp, because they've got all the assists enabled and they can look after their tyres more, they can get better traction out the corners. But in this time out, that is not the case. It was just a lot more interesting to drive, a lot more challenging, but not too over challenging where you're constantly on edge all the time. You just sort of find a balance of where you need to be careful and where you can put full throttle down. Usually after 4th gear you can usually use full throttle, but that's in most cases. Sometimes you're going to have to be a little bit more careful up into 5th and 6th, especially going through corners and stuff like that, because you will feel the car just doesn't have the turning that you're used to with dry weather, which is normal. That is what I expect, and I thought that was brilliant. In beta 2 we had a upgraded track. We had Belgium as well. So we was talking about the setups in the first beta, they didn't seem to help you at all. They seemed to actually stop you from going ultimate fast laps. Everybody who set the fastest laps were on just default setups. That just seemed the fastest way to go. We told Codemasters about this and they did look into it, and they've sort of tweaked that system, so now for different tracks you are going to need different setups. So for instance, Belgium, you're going to need, depending on what car you've got, you're going to need nice top speed just coming up from a Rouge, but also you're going to need high downforce. And you've got to find a balance between your speed and your downforce to get an ultimate lap out. Whereas somewhere as Spain you might go for a little bit more low drag setup, and Australia the same again. It depends on how you want to drive, but the setups do help you get better lap times now. And we found out as well, assists in beta 1, the traction control medium setting was helping you a little bit more than being on no assists. However, that got fixed in beta 2, and it seemed that medium traction control is between half a second and a second down, depending on which track you're on, to somebody who's racing with no assists, which is perfectly fine for me, because, you know, not everybody's going to race with no assists, because there are different skill levels on this game. You can't expect to pick this game up and be brilliant at it straight away, so as long as the assists don't make you as fast or faster than somebody who's using no assists, I'm all happy for it. Taking a little bit of a penalty using, say, automatic gears, ABS, etc. then yeah, that I'm totally fine with that. I run with no assists, and the way I tested it, I just did a couple of hot laps around Spain, and then with medium traction control on and ABS on, and I did a couple of laps with no assists as well. Compared the lap times, and they were around about 7/10 down with the medium traction control settings on. So that has been fixed and tweaked, so that's really good. We did have a couple of graphical glitches. Some of them are quite funny. I mean, when you're in Australia, you used to come around the last two corners of Australia, you'd see the last two corners of Austria instead. That was quite amusing to me. They did fix that. And then let's move on to Beta 3. So we did downforce setup and grip levels in Beta 1 and 2. Beta 3 was talking about quick race and how the tyres felt. So for instance, the super softs, how much more grip they give you and what their tyre life is like compared to, say, using the hard compound tyre or the medium compound. And they seem to have balanced it quite well, except I do think that come race day, when you're doing all your career modes, going on a set of super softs to do your qualifying in, and if you qualify in the top 10, using them scrub set of tyres. But also, the hard tyre seems to be a little bit more pacey overall. I don't know how to explain it properly. You've got so many laps that you can do on a hard set of tyres, but you don't take such a dip in performance. They're still quite good, especially into, they can do in a 50% race, I think a hard set of tyres does 12-13 laps, something similar to that, whereas the super softs will do around about 4 or 5 laps. So you gain around about a second using super softs, but obviously they wear out quicker. Softs, you did about 6-7 laps and you lost around about 2 or 3 tenths a lap. Mediums, 5-6 tenths, maybe 7 tenths, depending on your track that you're going on. Like places like Belgium, it's all good because it's such a long lap. Everything's going to get a little bit more spread out with the tyres. But other than that, the tyres seemed really well balanced, as I said, except the hard tyre, because it seemed that might be the best race tyre to go on. But in real life F1, they do go on to the hardest compound of tyre usually, because that just seems to be, your loss of your pit stop seems to be not as much as using the hardest set of tyre. So that was quite good to see. And I must mention as well, the first two betas we was only using the 2015 game with the 2016 handling model. The third beta that got released about a month ago now, we got to use the 2016 cars and liveries and use the new Haas team, which was really good. In general, team performance is really good. You can see that, say, the Mercedes are still right up there at the top, but Ferrari around about 6-7 tenths down. And bearing in mind, this is before Ferrari started dipping in performance and Red Bull started peaking. So you have Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull. Red Bull are around about a second up to 7 tenths lap slower than a Mercedes, and around about 4 tenths slower than a Ferrari. Now, that might get switched around come release day. It would make sense for an update to come through to show that the Red Bull's pace is a lot better than the Ferraris at the moment, but they might just leave that alone as well, because we have the R&D system with all the rivals moving around anyway, all the different teams changing, so that might be left as normal. Williams seem to be a lot off the pace. They seem to be close towards the Force Indias, which is quite close really, because Williams this season haven't exactly had the best car on the grid. They seem to go for their low downforce drag system, and yeah, it just felt around about a second off the pace, something like that. Then you had, very close together, you had Toro Rosso, the Williams, the Force Indias, and other cars as well that was around that area. Then you've got Haas team, and the way that they're all set out, it seems really good. All the team performances seem accurate, besides the Red Bull. As I said, the Red Bull is a little bit off the pace compared to the Mercedes, but as I said, that might get changed race day, so when the game comes out. But guys, that is going to be my little overview of the F1 2016 beta. As I said, I don't want to ramble on too much, so if you've got any more questions about the beta that I can answer, I will do so in the comments. This has been Elliott Splash. Thank you all for watching. Do not forget to like, subscribe and comment if you want to know anything more about this beta. But until next time guys, I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.